Governor Stitt delivers his State of the State address. Find out what he said that had lawmakers from both parties applauding. And the vote for Norman mayor is tomorrow. This is OU Nightly. Hello and welcome to OU Nightly. I'm Dylan Rivera.
And I'm Zaria Oates. We begin tonight with the governor's State of the State address. OU Nightly's Audrey Goodson just got back from the Capitol. She joins us from the newsroom with details.
Zaria and Dylan, the governor hit on some familiar conservative themes during his fourth annual address. He touched on government efficiency, better infrastructure, and business climate. And of course, the one big issue our state is facing, education.
We've tiptoed around the edges for far too long. It's clear the status quo is not working. We need to take bold steps. It will take courage, and it will take a desire to make a generational impact.
Stitt says he plans to put an incentive program into place where the best of the best teachers get a higher pay rate, in some cases up to $100,000 a year. The governor also renewed his criticism of the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark decision on criminal jurisdiction in Indian country, also known as the McGirt decision. The tribes, however, urged the governor to work with tribal nations instead of constantly fighting in the courts. Reporting in the newsroom, Audrey Goodson, OU Nightly.
Thank you, Audrey. The state sales tax on groceries is currently 4.5%. Sales tax in cities can be added on to that, bringing the overall tax up to 10% in some cases. That's what prompted Democrats to applaud the Republican governor today when he mentioned eliminating the tax. OU Nightly's Morgan Owens continues our team coverage with more reaction from Democrats.
Democrats who are in the minority here in Oklahoma didn't agree on much in Governor Kevin Stitt's State of the Address, but what they did agree on is getting rid of the grocery tax.
Also heard mention of reducing or eliminating the state's grocery tax. Now, we've been talking about that for a couple years now, and we don't need the credit by any means. But I want to just point out that that is a bipartisan idea.
Democrats were not on the same page in other key issues like education, public transportation, and COVID-19.
Unions, it's very concerning to have a governor's cabinet that has such a profound misunderstanding of how teachers' unions.
I was stunned to find out that we were going to spend billions and billions of dollars adding an additional lane, which wouldn't do anything to help Oklahomans in an instance like what happened on the East Coast.
There have been over 10,000 additional deaths since that point, but we heard no mention of that in today's speech.
In the end, there's not much Democrats can do to change the Republican agenda in Oklahoma since Republicans hold a majority in both the House and the Senate. Reporting from the Oklahoma State Capitol, Morgan Owens, OU Nightly.
While the governor and lawmakers took center stage, there were dozens of other Oklahomans at the Capitol rallying for causes important to them. We'll hear from them a little later in this newscast.
And there's good news on the COVID front. Oklahoma's case numbers continue to trend downward. The State Department of Health reported a little more than 1,400 cases on Sunday and almost 800 today. There are around 50,000 active cases in Oklahoma right now. Medical experts say the Omicron virus seems to have peaked in Oklahoma, but many testing sites closed at the end of last week due to the winter storm. Almost 14,000 Oklahomans have died from COVID since the start of the pandemic. And there's good news on the weather front, too. The snow has almost completely melted away.
The question is, how long will we get to enjoy the sunshine? Meteorologist Juliana Mejia joins us now with a first look at the forecast. Juliana?
Yes. So talking about all that snow and the snowstorm last week. So actually looking at some of those totals specifically from February 2nd, not only did this bring us slick conditions and snowy conditions, it did bring us some record snowfall. So you can see OKC saw about 3 inches within the day on February 2nd. Norman coming in at 4.5 inches. And our previous record, at least for Oklahoma City, was 2.5, set way back on February 2nd in 1913. So this was definitely a storm to remember. But yeah, talking about we're thawing out and it's beautiful. We've already seen that today. We've got warmer temperatures on the horizon. We're going to continue this trend throughout the entirety of this week. I'll have more details on how long it'll last us till we cool off again with another cold front on the way.
Thanks, Juliana. We know the weather in Oklahoma can be unpredictable, so what happens when kids can't go outside to play? Two Norman moms say they have a solution. Construction is currently underway on the Play Pit, the first indoor playground in Norman. The space will feature a 5-story play structure and concessions from local Norman vendors. However, these working moms wanted to keep parents in mind, leading them to include a functional workspace at the Play Pit.
Pandemic has changed the way a lot of people are working from home. They have more flexible hours, or they're doing like a hybrid work schedule. So giving people a place to go where they can work while still have their kids be happy and engaged with other kids was.
The Play Pit is set to open this April on East Main Street.
A daring rescue out on one of the Great Lakes. Kenzie Iserman has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world.
Thanks, Dylan. 18 people were rescued from the ice on Lake Erie yesterday. The Coast Guard says people were snowmobiling when a sheet of ice cracked and broke away. A bystander was able to rescue 7 of them, while the rest were rescued by the Coast Guard. Fortunately, no one involved in the incident needed medical attention. And in Canada, Ottawa declared a state of emergency yesterday afternoon. What started as a truckers' protest has turned into so much more. It is now the second weekend of protest against current COVID-19 restrictions. The Ottawa police chief is calling the protest a, quote, insurrection driven by madness. He says they don't have a solution yet.
The oath of office that I and my officers swore were never intended to deal with a city under siege, a threat to our democracy.
The protesters say they just want restrictions to end. In China, 24 new Olympic-related COVID cases have been identified. Of the cases, 11 were new airport arrivals, and additionally 12 of the 24 new cases involved athletes or team officials. And Samsung is now creating cell phones made from recycled fish nets. I don't know about you, but something about that sounds fishy to me. Back to you.
Well, Norman voters are heading to the polls tomorrow. Coming up, we'll take a look at the candidates for the city's next mayor.
Plus, find out how many floors a new Play Pit structure in Norman is set to have when we come back.
Awkward.
Norman voters head to the polls tomorrow, and the top race is the mayor's seat, with 4 candidates challenging the city's current mayor as she tries for a second term. OU Nightly's Jesse Klinger spoke with local business owners about what issues are important to them in the race.
The city of Norman could be facing a change in leadership as mayoral candidates Larry Heikkila, Dr. Nicole Kish, Alice Stevenson-Lewick, and Bob Thompson all look to unseat current mayor Bria Clark. Issues such as COVID-19 policies and public safety funding have dominated recent debates and forums. As for Norman residents, local business owners believe that safety regarding the homeless population in downtown Norman should be a top priority.
And that's been a big concern with a lot of small businesses because it has affected our, our businesses a lot, and like just getting employees and things. People don't feel safe down there. The issue isn't the shelter being there, it's the fact that it's not safe. The shelter hasn't been safe for even the people that are staying in it.
Another issue that concerns residents is how divided the city feels since the pandemic began.
It's become like you against us, and it really kind of stinks. I would prefer a mayor that's going to like bring people back together. You know what I mean? And not make Norman so divided. And just focus on like the basic needs that people are wanting and not tearing the town apart into two towns. It feels like there's two Normans right now.
In Norman, Oklahoma, Jesse Klinger, OU Nightly.
If none of the candidates receive the majority vote, Norman will see a runoff happen in this election.
Lawmakers return to the Oklahoma State Capitol today for the first legislative session of the year. Libby Dean joins us with more.
During the session, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt delivered his State of the State address, covering several topics inside the chamber, while outside was a much different scene. Chanting echoed into the House chambers today for the abolishment of abortion during Stitt's State of the State address.
The abolitionist movement in Oklahoma wants to send a very clear message to the legislature. Stop regulating murder in the womb and abolish it.
For years, state Republican lawmakers have filed and passed pro-life bills. Many are urging the legislature to outlaw abortion, and Senate Bill 1553 does just that. The pro-life legislation states no person shall perform or induce an abortion upon a pregnant woman after 30 days have elapsed since the beginning of the pregnancy. Now, regardless of the measures red states take to abolish abortion, ultimately the decision lies in the hands of the Supreme Court. That's all from Capitol Report. Back to you, Zaria and Dylan.
Coming up next, find out what a few students around campus did over the snow days to keep themselves occupied and spirits high, and find out more about weather.
Yeah, winter storm warnings extended from western New Mexico as far as north and east as Maine last week. Heavy snow bands stretched 2,000 miles across the country. Fortunately, we're thawing out here in Oklahoma, and beautiful conditions are on the horizon. To OU Nightly. So we're kicking things off today with beautiful conditions. So not quite so snowy as this picture back here, but it's melting away. We're hanging on to just a little bit of it out there, but current conditions right now, 56 degrees, lots of sunshine that is certainly helping melt away that snow. Dew point only at 25 degrees. And talking about that, so you can see relative humidity statewide pretty comfortable for the most part. We're about 30%, but drier out to the west, 17% out in Elk City. So it's, almost a little too dry in some parts, and that's going to be the story going into the rest of this week. There is an enhanced fire risk for the western portion of the state because of those low dew points going into the rest of the week. So even the teens here in the Oklahoma City metro area as well. So dry conditions, the warmer temperatures on the horizon are going to kind of make that mixture for some fire risk throughout the week. So definitely also looking at the drought monitor here, kind of in tune with that, you can see that the snowfall didn't help us all too much, really much at all. We're still holding on to extreme drought for the western portion, more so almost the western half of the state, as you can see. But talking about the conditions ahead, so going into the rest of this evening, we stay clear. Skies are beautiful all the way through midnight tonight. We hang on to the 40s, slowly dipping down into the upper 30s for those overnight lows. Highs tomorrow, beautiful. Above average temperatures, we're well above average, over 10 degrees above average actually. Here in Norman, about 65 degrees. Guyman coming in a little cooler at 56 degrees, closer to that normal for this time of year. Talking about the rest of these temperatures for the rest of the week. Pulling this out here so you can see we've got this cold swell of Arctic air pushing from the north. That's going to bring us another cold front through about Saturday, heading into Sunday as well. That'll linger for a bit before we kind of bring back a little bit more of those comfortable temperatures. So spanning out the rest of your week, again, 60s pretty much across the board, a little cooler on your Thursday with some clouds out there. 70. We will be reaching 70 on your Friday, kicking off the weekend before that cold front comes through, dipping us back into the lower 50s.
Well, with the majority of OU students taking these past few snow days to relax and catch up on sleep, there were a few groups who decided to make the most of this snowy situation.
Decided hey, let's make like a little small snow fort. I did not expect it to be this because so many people have come by.
We apologize for those technical difficulties. The women's basketball rankings came out today, and the Sooners have moved up in the polls. Tyler, they had a real nail-biter against West Virginia the other night.
Yes, Dylan, they absolutely did. It took them 2 overtimes to put away their Big 12 foe. And the men also had a game this weekend when they faced in-state rival Oklahoma State. I'll let you know how both those games went next on OU Nightly. Hello and welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Tyler Deluca and it is time for sports. Porter Moser Sooners traveled down to Stillwater this weekend for some Bedlam basketball. Unfortunately for OU, the end result was not what they hoped for. The Sooners would fall to the Cowboys 64-55 in a messy game for both teams. Tanner Groves led the way for the Sooners with 23 points on the day. This loss drops the Sooners to 13-10 on the season, with Texas Tech coming to Norman on Wednesday.
In the second half, kind of went down that rabbit hole of trying to do high degree difficulties. They're playing some guys, they're packing some guys in the middle of the paint. We didn't shoot it. You look at the numbers.
Switching over to the women's side, Coach Jenny Baranczyk has this team on a roll. The Sooners welcomed West Virginia into the LNC this weekend and went to war. It would take not 1, but 2 overtimes to settle the score with the Mountaineers. Taylor Robertson poured in 26 points, and Maddie Williams had 22, including the game-winning layup, which made Maddie the Big 12 Player of the Week. The Sooners jumped up to number 12 in the national poll today, and are on a 4-game win streak. Coach Jenny Baranczyk was very happy with her team's fight against West Virginia.
And then I'm just proud of the way that we managed the end of the game. And, there's a couple things here or there maybe we can do differently. But we're going to learn from this. We're going to grow from this. But I'm really proud of not just our team, but I'm proud of our league. I'm proud of the Big 12. I mean, that was a great basketball game today. And it showcased a lot of great players.
Women's gymnastics reigned supreme once again in a meet yesterday. Not only did the Sooners win, but one Sooner in particular was perfect. Reagan Smith scored a complete 10 out of 10 on the balance beam for the first perfect score of her career. Smith would also score a 9.975 on floor, and Audrey Davis would join her with the same score on bars. OU is currently ranked number 2 in the nation. And in NFL news, New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara has been arrested on a battery charge. The arrest took place in Las Vegas following the NFL Pro Bowl. The investigation continues to be ongoing, but Kamara is expected to make his first appearance in court on Monday. And the Beijing Winter Olympics began earlier this month, but the biggest star might not be an athlete. The official mascot of the Beijing Olympics is a panda named Bing Duen Duen, and it is a hit. BDD can be seen all over the Olympics on banners, flags, and sometimes even in the hands of the medal winners. Each athlete that wins a medal is receiving a stuffed Bing Duen Duen plush as a reward as well. Dylan, Zaria, I think I'm liking the panda, but what animal would you two pick for your Olympic mascot?
I don't know. I'd probably go with a monkey. What about you, Dylan?
I don't know. I guess I'd go with a tiger. And while we're on the subject of tigers, the Cincinnati Bengals and Los Angeles Rams are headed into the Super Bowl this Sunday.
Yeah. Find out how you can win upwards of $2,000 this game day.
I'm Carolynn Felling at the OU Nightly Update Desk. President Joe Biden just left a meeting with Germany's new leader vowing to block the Nord Stream 2, Russia to Germany's gas pipeline if Russia further invades Ukraine. This is a developing story. Follow OU Nightly for more updates. That's it for now. Back to you in the studio.
Dylan, you're tuning into the Super Bowl on Sunday, right?
I will definitely be watching.
Well, you want to get paid to watch that game?
Absolutely.
Well, you're in luck then, because online sports entertainment network The Game Day is looking for someone to be a Super Bowl analyst.
That's right, and the lucky fan who gets selected will have the chance to earn over $2,000 by answering 15 questions throughout the game. Those who apply must be 21 or older.
Do you think you could do that?
For $2,000, I'd love to give it a try.
All right, well, we're still 6 days away from the big game, but today the temperatures outside rose up into the 50s, and we should have more warm days ahead, right, Juliana?
Yes, you got it on the nail. I mean, you're here to steal my job, basically. You told the forecast as it is. Out here, we're looking at the 60s, basically, for the rest of the week. Sunshine galore. You can see we dip a little bit back into the lower 60s come Thursday, a little bit more cloud cover. Our are hanging on to the mid to upper 30s for the most part, so pretty seasonable. But then Friday, wow, this is, quite a different look than last week in true Oklahoma fashion, as one would expect. But you can see we're going to be just climbing into the upper 60s, seeing about 70 degrees for your Friday. Certainly a day to get outside before we expect another cold front to make its way through the state come for your weekend. So definitely a week to get outside and enjoy it before the weekend to come. You can see even Monday we warm back up into the 60s. So certainly a beautiful weekend.
Well, thank you, Juliana, and thank you for tuning in to OU Nightly. We're live every day, weekday from Gaylord Hall. Good night.